Many times in ministry, we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves among ourselves. So we'll look at certain ministry leaders that are very popular, that have great followings, and we begin to want to create a copycat approach where we begin to mimic some of what they say and some of what they do, instead of being unique and doing the thing that God has uniquely called us to do. Hey, ministry leader, Disrupt Ministry is excited to announce the first month of our weekly show that is designed to take your digital presence to the next level. This month, we're going to be focusing on the ultimate branding guide for your ministry. We're going to be covering this month everything that you need to know about how to take your ministry's brand to the next level. We're going to have a weekly show that's going to cover numerous topics that are going to help you to rethink your brand and how to strategize taking it to the next level. And at the end of the month, the very last day of the month, we're going to have a Q&A on the Clubhouse. So we're excited about that. We're going to be able to hear from you, interact with you, and just collaborate so we can go to the next level together. We're very excited and we look forward to serving you in this way. God bless you. Galatians 2:8. For he who worked through Peter for his apostolic ministry to the circumcised worked also through me for my ministry to the Gentiles. Today we're going to talk about biblical brands. Peter versus Paul. Hey, ministry leader, looking to build a website here in the near future? You're going to need a hosting platform in order to build out your website, and we want to recommend one of the top hosting websites in the industry today, and their name is Bluehost. They offer excellent customer service, and you sign up to host with them, you will receive a free domain for a year, as well as a WordPress website, which is going to give you all of the things that you need in order to successfully build your website. So we recommend Bluehost today. Look in the show notes and we will have a link where you can sign up with them. Good luck on your website. God bless you. So last week we talked about the importance of having a ministry brand. And I thought today would be very important for us to look at some examples of ministry brands in the New Testament. And specifically, probably two of the most prominent characters of our New Testament, Paul and Peter. They were both anointed by God, called by God, and used by God, but they were both extremely different. And I want us to grasp this when coming to grips with our ministry brand and what God has called us to do. And here is why. Because many times in ministry, we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves among ourselves. So we'll look at certain ministry leaders that are very popular, that have great followings, and we begin to want to create a copycat approach where we begin to mimic some of what they say and some of what they do, instead of being unique and doing the thing that God has uniquely called us to do. And that's what I want to convince you of by looking at these two characters from the New Testament and examining their lives and showing us that we can be ourselves and be truly called by God and do what God has called us to do. So let's first look at Peter. Peter was a part of Jesus's in crowd. He was one of his 12 apostles. He was a foundation in the church. He preached on the day of Pentecost. He was one of the leaders, the prominent leaders of the New Testament church, but he also had some downsides, right? He failed Jesus. He turned his back on Jesus 3 times. He had some issues with, cursing a little bit. He had many flaws, even when Jesus had left. Hey, ministry leader, are you looking for a more effective way to follow up with people online? Well, we have the platform for you. Texan Church is one of the top church communication platforms in the industry today. They help you set up automated follow-up scripts that you can follow up with people who engage with your content online or on your website for upwards of 6 weeks. They have a 60-day free trial for you to test out the platform and see how it will work with what you're doing online. Click the link below and they will help you more effectively follow up with your target audience. So let's examine and compare Peter and Paul's ministry. Let's begin with Peter. Peter was a part of Jesus' inner circle. Peter preached on the day of Pentecost. Peter walked on water. And Peter was one of the pillars of the New Testament church. And those are some of his highlights. We haven't even gotten into some of his pitfalls, like the fact that he denied Jesus 3 times and that he had an issue with fellowshipping with non-Jewish believers in the New Testament. But beyond his flaws, and FYI, every ministry leader has a flaw. No one's perfect. But he was distinguishedly used by God to fulfill his purpose in ministry to the circumcised, to the Jews. But let's look at Paul. Paul was a persecutor of the church, and he was a Pharisee of Pharisees, a very brilliant man. He had a radical conversion that led him to be one of the greatest apostles who ever lived. He wrote 2/3 of our New Testament, and he was distinguishedly used by God in the New Testament church to help bring the Gentiles into salvation. So as we look at both of these characters, they both come from very different backgrounds, very different circumstances, but yet they were both uniquely used by God in their own way. So I want to encourage the ministry leaders looking at us today and encourage you to be yourself. Don't try to be someone else, but find out what God has put inside of you and display that for the world to see on social media. I mentioned last week, and this is something that is very important for us to understand, authenticity is the key to success online. In order for us to have success online, we must become and be ourselves. That is what gets people to tune in. That's what drives engagement. And that's what's going to help you to fulfill your ministry in this digital world that we're living in. The world of copycat is over. You can't do that successfully online. It might have worked in a previous generation, but that is over. We must be ourselves. We must be authentic to who we are. And that is how we're going to see success in this new digital world that we're living in. So when we examine the lives of Paul and Peter, we ought to look at that and say, God can use me exactly the way He made me. I don't have to compare myself to another ministry. But what I rather should do is focus on what God has put inside of me and say, I'm going to be myself in this world, and God is going to put me in front of the right people who are designed to be blessed by my ministry. So I want to encourage you today, ministry leader, to dig into what God has called you to be. Be authentic, be unique, don't be anyone else. If you're comical, be comical. If you're serious, be serious. Be what God has created you to be, and when you nail down and get rid of that comparison mindset, you are going to be successful online. Thank you so much for joining us for Disrupt Ministry, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Hey, ministry leader. Are you looking to spend less time focusing on your digital platforms and more time focusing on the ministry that God has called you to? At Next Level Church Marketing, we have the strategies and the systems that will help you to reach your target audience while you focus on the ministry and the ministering that God has called you to. We help ministries all around the country with websites, social media management, search engine optimization, and lead generation. You put it in our hands and we will help you reach the people that God has called you to reach. If you're interested in any of our services, click on my Calendly link below and we can set up a free strategy session where we can discuss how we can help take your ministry marketing to the next level. Have a blessed day.